Welcome to Bunker Gaming, my name is Matt. So today I want to talk about Destiny and the Destiny beta that has recently came out. Destiny is this epic game that combines elements of an MMO, single player and multiplayer into one universe. Combine this with the history and lore of the game, this becomes this grand story that allows players to easily become a part of it. So what were some of the negative aspects of the beta? Probably one of the major detractions for me was the game running at 30 FPS. I know the game developers are trying to place everybody on a level playing field, but as a person who owns a next-gen console, I expect a more fluid game combined with a visually rich experience. Game developers have to start realizing this mindset has no place in next-gen titles, and that they have to stop trying to create this level playing field. The expectation is, if I upgrade to a better system or equipment, I should see this reflected in the game itself. I would have preferred to see reduction in visuals and allow them to give me a more smoother game running at 60 FPS. Another disappointing factor is that the Xbox One people will have to wait up to a year for the same content that the PlayStation 4 people receive after the game's release. Delayed releases are something we all encountered in the past with various gaming companies. While this system can be advantageous for one gaming system over another, it can have a side effect of poor sales, or sometimes no sales at all for the system that they're left out in the cold due to the delayed release schedule. I don't understand why any gaming developer will allow themselves to be tied into one of these deals. I mean, the primary goal for any gaming developer is to try and get your game out to as many people as possible. So there were some of the negative aspects of the game, but let's talk about the game itself. I found the actual gameplay to be very enjoyable, the enemies were enjoyable to fight. I didn't feel at any point in time that I couldn't handle what was in front of me. I would like to see them scale better as the players' levels increase. And I also found that it was far too easy to trick the AI and allow people or the players to exploit the AI. This could be done by sitting in an area that the AI would not enter, and then you just pick them off one by one. I felt this took away a bit from the game in a way. But I would like to see a bit more variety of enemies, maybe have them change up their fighting style depending on the level of the player character. So community events were an interesting way to mix things up and allow people to work together to achieve a common goal or objective. Protecting a warsat or whether it was destroying a devil walker, it created this fun way for a large group of people who didn't know each other to get involved. Even after I finished the main storyline, I found exploring the Cosmodrome was fun and interesting. There was interesting little side missions to complete which allowed you to explore more of the Cosmodrome. These side missions were a good way to gain more experience but didn't really add to the storyline. I felt it took a little bit away from the experience of the game. I've heard that many people felt that the Cosmodrome was too small, but there was many hidden little areas that could have been missed if people really didn't look. There's a lot more depth to the game that requires a little bit more exploration. I felt once that other areas open up like the Moon, Mars and Venus, this will give players many hours of exploration and a more depth to the game itself. Bungie has said that the strike and raid missions that can be completed after the main storyline will require people on your friends list to be able to complete them. I can see this being a bit problematic, as many people may not necessarily have the people on their friends list to allow them to complete these strike and raid missions. I think another option would be to scale back the raid and strike missions to smaller teams, maybe 2 or 3 people, to at least give people a chance to give them a go. Maybe an alternative is to have some form of community system within the tower to allow people to form groups. Still have the requirements of being on a friend list, but it would allow them then to take on these more in-depth missions. So the Crucible, the PvP side of the game, felt very disjointed from the main storyline. I don't feel like it flowed very well with the game itself. The gameplay felt very clunky. The netcode created some interesting situations, from delayed kills, instant deaths, or in extreme cases not being able to kill a person at all. This could be due to the fact that there was very limited resources for the beta and they only spun up the resources they thought was required. But if this becomes the normal for the actual gameplay, I can see people will abandon PvP side of games very fast. The interceptor vehicles was one thing that was extremely overpowered. Bungie has said they're looking at nerfing it due to people's feedback. But I'm interested to see how Bungie will continue to integrate the PvP side into the game. While the attraction of much higher loot can be a draw card, it can't be the one sole reason. To make a great PvP experience, it has to be compelling but fun. I think the three classes at this point offer subtle differences, but they don't vary in regards to the actual skill levels. It helps in regards to balancing out, but it sort of distracts away from the actual characters themselves. I hope when the subclasses are unlocked at higher levels, this allows for more customization and path development. So the big question here, has Destiny been overhyped? Yes, to a point it has, but I think it does deserve a lot of that hype, due to the way it presents itself to the player as a very inviting game to play. I can say that I'm looking forward to joining the ranks of the Guardians when the game's released in September, and I look forward to becoming the protector of the last bastion of Earth and beyond. So I'd like to thank you very much. I hope this review was very helpful, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.